Okay, so from a closer look at the upcoming Fear and Greed DLC to Payday 3 leaving Xbox Game Pass, we've got a lot to talk about today, so let's start with the DLC. We got the initial Fear and Greed teaser at the start of the week that gave us a quick peek at the new Heist, Houston, and some of the weapons coming in the next update, including the new minigun overkill weapon. And while it was fun speculating about the Heist's gameplay and the weapons coming in the DLC, this week's blog post gives us an in-depth look at some of those things as well as a preview of the upcoming Tailor Pack. The blog begins by setting the scene for the heist. We're taking on Wall Street so that we can tank the stocks associated with John Concord so that we can cripple his whole organization, at least from a financial perspective. As with most Payday 3 heists, this one can be tackled in either loud or stealth, though stealth is going to work a little differently this time round. By default, we'll be starting on the roof and making our way into the building by ziplining down the elevator shaft. Of course, using a zipline isn't something that can be done in casing mode, so to even enter the building, you'll need to mask up. Presuming of course the heist doesn't start road rage style with everybody already masked up. If maskless stealth is your kind of thing though, not to worry, you can bring along a heist specific favor that allows you to start on the trading floor, completely unmasked, and progress through the heist in stealth, only masking up if you deem it necessary. From the way the blog post is structured, it seems as if the loud and stealth objectives are similar if not the same, requiring us to infiltrate one of the broker companies and steal a USB credential key that can be used to access a control panel in the exchange room. If navigating the open trading floor seems daunting in stealth, especially if you've masked up already, we'll seemingly be able to use some sleeping gas to send the civilians there to sleep. Then we'll be shorting Concord's stock before shutting down the markets with an EMP device and making our escape. Sounds like a pretty fun time and a great way to hit Concord right in the money bags, even if shorting a stock doesn't necessarily mean it's going to depreciate in value. I guess at the end of the day, the Payday gang are just hoping that shorting Concord's assets with the entire weight of the New York Stock Exchange is enough to tank the stock, which to be fair, it probably is. Either that, or Concord's assets continue to rise, and the gang have left Wall Street with potentially infinite debt. So either way, I'm in. Either we get to take down Concord's finances, or we financially ruin Wall Street. I should throw in a little disclaimer to temper expectations and say financially ruining Wall Street isn't something we're going to be able to do in Payday 3, at least I highly doubt it. But I guess it would be the logical outcome of shorting Concord's stock and Concord's stock not depreciating in value. But anyway, Payday isn't exactly a trading simulator, is it? So we can stop the finance talk. At first, I was a little off put by hearing that you can only enter the heist unmasked using a favor, as that just locks the ability to play the heist in a certain way behind RNG. However, the blog seemingly clarifies that we'll be able to purchase that favor. Purchasing favors was something that was mentioned a while back, so I'm glad that Starbreeze haven't forgotten about it, and I hope that we can purchase favors for all of the other heists and not just this one for Fear and Greed. The ability to purchase heist-specific favors is something that a lot of people have wanted in the game for quite a while now, and even if they were relatively expensive and cost maybe around 25 C-stacks per favor, I think that this would be a great update to bring that out with, because apparently we can already purchase one favor, so please, Starbreeze, please roll out that entire system. That would be great, thanks. But all in all, when it comes to the Fear and Greed heist, as somebody with some interest and a bit of experience in finance and trading, the setting of this heist has me hooked. I'm really hoping that all of the screens showing the share prices and transactions actually update in real time throughout the heist, just to add to that feeling of toying with the financial juggernaut that is Wall Street, but only time will tell. The Tailor Pack for this DLC is, in my opinion, the best one yet. All inspired by the world of trading, we have a wolf, bull, bear, and rabbit. The wolf obviously being a reference to the Wolf of Wall Street, the bull and bear both tied to the types of market sentiment being bullish and bearish, and the rabbit referring to a type of trader that only holds on to short-term positions in an attempt to manage risk. And besides the clever theming, these cosmetics all look fantastic. At the end of the day, cosmetics are always personal preference, and this pack really ticks all the boxes for me. On to the weapons now. Obviously, we were shown the TAS-12 shotgun in the teaser earlier this week, and the eagle-eyed amongst us were able to spot the Gustini Viper 50 AE as well. I really hope you picked up on what I did there. But the third weapon is now confirmed to be the Jackknife SE5, which by the sounds of things is just a bog standard pistol, not exactly the weapon that's going to be selling this DLC. Of course, what this weapon pack lacks in thematic relevance, it makes up for with its iconicism. The Spaz-12 and Desert Eagle are such iconic weapons, it's really great to see them coming back. And that does it for the paid portion of the next update. The blog also reminds us that that the minigun overkill weapon is coming too, alongside a slew of other free content, which we'll learn more about in this week's dev update video. I'm personally very bullish on the Fear and Greed update, but I want to know what you think of DLC 4 and that brief little overview we've just gone through. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and while you're down there, consider clicking that subscribe button. To get everybody into the spirit of Fear and Greed, Starbreeze are currently running the Stocked and Loaded event. On this website, you can sign in with your Nebula account to partake in a trading minigame. You start off with $10,000 and can invest in 20 different companies associated with Payday. These stocks fluctuate during the opening times of the real New York Stock Exchange, and of course, your portfolio can go up or down. The top 10 traders will receive a custom-made limited edition Fear and Greed themed wolf poster, and the top 100 will receive some C-stacks. It's a fun little side ARG that's pulled in a surprisingly large amount of people. I decided to keep myself relatively close to the $10,000 at least for now, so that I could see how many players were above me and actually engaging with the event. And at the time of recording, I'm ranked 1,967th, meaning 1,966 players are above me. A shockingly large amount of people if you ask me, especially considering Payday 3's smaller player base, and of course that number doesn't include the people who have been losing money and are below me in the ranking. I'll be the first to admit that I'm actually really surprised to see how many people are engaging with this event. Obviously, this number isn't indicative of the player numbers themselves, especially not going into next week, as on Monday the 15th of September, just one day before Fear and Greed releases, Payday 3 is leaving Xbox Game Pass. Now, while we have no numbers to show how many players the game has on console platforms, I seem to recall some chatter from a few months back that claimed they were slightly, if not significantly higher than PC's player numbers, and that would actually make quite a bit of sense. Remember, while on PC it's easy to head back to Payday 2, on console it isn't as simple. Payday 2 on console had its last update back in 2019, and even before that it wasn't exactly up to date. So the choice between Payday 2 and 3 for console players is much harder, as they're both in a similar state of unpolish, though Payday 3 at least is improving. And on Xbox, I imagine that a sizable chunk of that player base comes from those Xbox Game Pass subscriptions, so whatever way you look at it, removing the game from Game Pass will affect the numbers. There will certainly be players who decide not to buy the game and instead step away from Payday 3, but I think the game is in a much better place now than it was at launch, so I imagine that a decent amount of people will pick up the game as well. Regardless of how many Game Pass players do or don't purchase Payday 3, do I think removing it from Game Pass on the 15th is a good idea? Well, yes and no. I've seen some people say that they should have waited until after Fear and Greed release to pull the game from Game Pass, and while yes, it would be nice to have Game Pass players get to try out some of the free Update 10 content, you have to take into consideration the amount of people who may buy the DLC just to have the game leave Game Pass a week or so later. That's backlash that Starbreeze really don't need right now. Of course, it stings that some people who own the previous DLCs but played the game through Game Pass will lose access to the DLC content they paid for, but that's just the nature of buying DLC for a game you don't technically own. It really isn't the fairest thing in the world for sure, but it is a consequence of the games industry's current push towards subscription models that I really hope meets the same fate as loot boxes within the next few years. With DLC 4 shaping up to be another solid addition to the game, and that Year 1 edition right around the corner, there's every chance that the game coming off of Game Pass leads to more sales than lost players. If you missed my breakdown of the Fear and Greed teaser that released earlier this week, click the video on screen now and I'll see you in the next video.